So welcome to the class of financial statement analysis. We are going to continue with the last topic, that is financial reporting. So now let's understand what is annual financial reporting. First of all, annual accounts and balance sheets. Those are prepared by the company. These are to be, submitted. These are to be laid before the company in every general meeting. And that annual general meeting is carried out under the guidance of under the section 166. So in every general meeting, a company presents the balance sheet at the end of that specified period and the profit and loss account for that period. Those companies which are not working on profit and loss, like charities or NGOs, those which are not carrying out their business for profit purpose, what do those companies do? Those companies present their income and expenditures occurred during that period, right? Instead of profit and loss account, because they are not carrying out their business for profit purpose or loss purpose, so they will be presenting their income and expenses statement. Now coming to the standalone versus consolidated financial statements. See, what are standalone financial statements and what are consolidated statements? There is a head company, parent company. It has many, diversified units. So if a company is reporting only alone as an individual, that is the financial statement of that company, presenting standalone. But if the financial statements of all the parent company and all the subsidiaries are prepared together and those statements are presented, that is termed as consolidated financial statement. So listed companies internationally present consolidated financial statements as the main reporting format, right? So all the companies which are listed in SEBI, those companies, they present the consolidated financial statements. Whereas in India, standalone financial statement is the main reporting format. Listed Indian companies present consolidated financial statements as supplementary. In India, what is the scenario? In India, all the companies mostly they are presenting standalone financial statements, but those companies which are listed in SEBI, they are also adding up and they are presenting the consolidated financial statement as supplementary reports. But it is not that only that if the Indian company is presenting a consolidated financial statement, that will not be enough. They will also have to present this standalone financial statement, that is considered as the primary reporting format, right? Then comes your quarterly financial information. In addition to your annual reporting, some listed companies also present. In fact, most of the listed companies are required to present their quarterly financial information in the format that is given by the SEBI, Stock Exchange Board of India, has prescribed a format, and according to that format, they are supposed to prepare their quarterly and quarterly reports, financial reports. See, if you see, this is the financial reporting chart. I hope it is visible. The process of preparing corporation's financial statement in accordance with generally accepted accounting principles, GAAP. Okay, if your financial statements are prepared according to the GAAP and then you are reporting it, that is your financial reporting. The statement prepared includes an income statement, balance sheet, and a statement of cash flows. So another definition given is a financial reporting is a formal record of the financial activities of the business persons or other entity. So it is nothing but whatever the activities are taking place, whatever the organization is carrying out the activities in business. So it is a formal recording of all those activities. See, this is the thing. Annual report for a company. For legal and necessity reasons, companies publish a formal report at the end of each financial year. This annual document has 3 broad sections: director's report, financial statements, and auditor's report, right? So the financial reporting, which will be taking part at the end of every annual year, it will be consisting of a director report and also financial statement, and at the end, auditor's report. Now see, what is this director's report? The first section of the annual report, called Director's Report, is a narrative, often in the form of a letter from the company's chairman to its shareholders, giving 3 important pieces of information. So it is a kind of narration, notes, okay, detailed notes. In this, a letter is included जो कंपनी का चेयरपर्सन है वो शेयर होल्डर को देता है, and he will be talking about 3 important aspects. First one is a comment from the chairman on the performance of the company during the year to which the report states or relates. This part is often referred to as OFR, Operational and Financial Review. That means how company is performing, how it is operating, what is the financial position, financial review, things, activities taking place. A comment, a note will be given from the chairman to the shareholder for that particular accounting period for which we are dealing with. Secondly, an assessment of what lies in the immediate future. And then what is the next, just immediate future. If we talk about in next year, what we are gonna plan, what we're gonna achieve, what are the things for us in coming next 2 years, right? Then thirdly, a statement about the company's policies, principles, strategies developed to meet the challenges of the future. And third one will be regarding the what is the changes which we are expecting in the future, that is immediate future we are talking about here, that is your coming year, right? So in that future, if we are seeing some challenges might pop up or some issues might come up, then what are the company's policies, companies के क्या policies, strategies companies develop कर रही है to meet those challenges, to overcome those challenges, right? So these 3 things form a very important part of director's report, and these are given from the company chairman to the shareholders. This narrative part of annual report, the narrative part of annual report is prepared with great care. They are, they hire professional writers and designers to touch it up, ensure acceptability and appeal to the shareholder. They try to make it very eye-catching and properly written and properly designed, very formally, so that the shareholders, they feel impressed. Okay, there is good, good presentation. Then a number of graphs, charts, photographs are inserted just to show them what the things are happening. They try to explain the activities with the help of graphs, charts, and photographs. Only those issues are talked about which the management feels will be of interest to the shareholders and will be appreciated by the shareholders. Unnecessary things or futile activities, futile things are not talked about in the narration part of director's report. Only those those things, those issues are talked about which are of interest to the shareholders, in which the shareholders will be really interested and he'll be appreciating that. Sadly, over the recent era, this report has become to lose a considerable part of its credibility. But now what is happening? They are hiring professional writers and everything. They are focusing on the design, but it is getting somewhere manipulated. Over the recent period, what has been noticed, it has been observed that the credibility of director's report is somewhere, it is under the question mark. They try to manipulate with the information, they try to play with it, so their credibility comes under a question mark. As more and more investors tend to look at it as a public relation exercise rather than a serious attempt to give meaningful information to shareholders. Why it is happening? It is happening because they are finding it as a exercise to develop, public relation, that whatever you are reporting in whatever chairman and in director's report it is reported, it will be shown to the public at large. So if it is good, it is impressive, then it will attract the investors, it will attract the public. So their purpose of behind this report has changed. They are focusing on attracting more and more investors. They are making it appealing to the public rather than focusing on the information, whether that is meaningful information or all the vital information is included in it or not included for shareholders. That purpose has been diverted to making it appealing, making it very impressive for the public. Then comes the audit report. This report is given by the external auditors after they have examined the accounting records, supporting evidence and financial statements prepared on the basis of such records at the end of year. CEO prepared financial statements. We are a higher external auditor. That auditor will go through all the records, all the statements, what has been done, and whether the information which is given in the financial statements, it gets supported by the evidences or not, right? So it essentially gives the auditor's opinion on the financial statement, generally covering the following areas. So after doing the auditing, auditor will be giving his or her opinion in these following areas. First one is step taken by the external auditor to form his opinion on the financial statement. Auditor's opinion on whether or not the book of account have been properly kept and are complete in all necessary aspects. First of all, he'll be telling whether these books of accounts, these statements are not complete or these are incomplete. If he finds, what is his opinion on that? The financial statements are in accordance with the accounting standards or accounting records. जो हमारे principles हैं उसके accordingly हम लोगों ने financial statements company ने prepare किया है या नहीं किया है. The financial statements give a true and fair view of company's profit for the year ended and its financial position at the end of the year. So whether the financial statements are able to give a fair picture of the company's financial position or not. And the last one is the financial statements provide all the disclosures required by the relevant laws. So whatever the laws are there, whatever the disclosures companies need to make, those disclosures have been given in the financial statements or these haven't been, these are hidden somewhere. So auditor's opinion will be given on all these points. There can be 4 types of auditor's report. First one is unqualified report. It is that report in which the auditor is fully satisfied with the state of affairs, and it gives a clean and unqualified report that whatever the financial statements are indicating, it is very much in order and it is very much true picture it is showing up, right? That is unqualified. That means it is clean. Qualified report is that in which external auditors find minor irregularities. These are good. These have been prepared in order, but it indicates only few areas जहाँ पे minor irregularity auditor notice करता है या auditor को लगता है. So it doesn't have a substantial effect. It is very minor in nature, which do not materially affect the year's profit or financial position of the year, but he will give indicating that so area I'm not very satisfied with the statement regarding this particular entry or this particular area, right? Then adverse report. Adverse means anything bad, negative. If the external auditors find too many errors and misstatements in the accounts, or if the accounts haven't been properly kept or recorded and they give materially incorrect profit and financial statements are not reliable. Generally, adverse report is given by the auditor at that time when things are really out of the hand. When things are totally manipulated, the profit is not correct, the financial position which is stated by the statements, it is not showing a true picture, and there is no proper order, no proper standards have been maintained. So in that case, auditor would be giving a adverse report. Disclaimer means if the external auditors find that the book of accounts or supporting documents are inadequate for the purpose of preparing meaningful financial statements, he may give a disclaimer, which indicates that he was not able to form any opinion on the accounting records or on financial statement due to inadequate records and evidence. That means financial statement में उसको कोई problem नहीं आई है. Auditor is finding okay, whatever has been shown in the financial statement, it is fine. But he is not sure because there are no evidence, supporting evidence जो है, those are not up to the mark. Adequate supporting documents are missing. That's why auditor doesn't know. Auditor cannot make an opinion whether the information which is presented in the financial statement, it is correct or it is not correct. So in that case, auditor नीचे एक disclaimer की report देता है I don't know. Okay, it seems fine, whatever is being presented in the financial statements, but I'm not sure because there is no much evidence available जो उसको ये prove कर दें कि ये जो सारी information दी गई है that is adequate, right? So in that case, disclaimer report is given by the auditors. Now we'll be going to the framework. See, we know all of us prepare these financial statements we are preparing, but there are some rules and regulations. It's not that where I can prepare any financial statement, balance sheet, or the way I want. If that is the case, then every individual will be preparing the personal balance sheet, right? But there's some norms, some rules, some guidelines, some principles which we are supposed to follow, right? So you must have heard these terms: GAAP, AS, Ind AS, then IAS, IFRS. If you know it, these are all very confusing. Somewhere it is used GAAP, somewhere it is used accounting standard, somewhere it is used Indian accounting standards, somewhere we are using international accounting standards, and somewhere we are using IFRS, International Financial Reporting Standards, right? So what this is all about? So first let's discuss what is GAAP. GAAP means generally accepted accounting principles, right? So this is GAAP. So GAAP, you can say it is a broader term. GAAP is a broader term. Under this, we have national accounting standards and national GAAP, and we have international GAAP, right? So national GAAP means a GAAP or those principles which are adopted by a country, and international GAAP means the international accounting standards which are maintained by the on international level by all the countries, right? So in national GAAP is there, international GAAP is there. It is maintaining your domestic accounting standards and it is maintaining your international accounting standards. See, if you talk about Indian accounting standard, it is a national GAAP. If you have heard of US GAAP, it is a national GAAP. US is also maintaining their own GAAP, but international accounting standards are maintained by UK, and all the European countries, those are maintaining international accounting standards. Now what has happened? These international accounting standards, these have been converted into IFRS. These have been termed into, renamed as IFRS, and the accounting standard in context of India, it has been termed as Indian accounting standard, right? So now we deal with Indian accounting standard and IFRS. Indian accounting standards are also prepared in line with IFRS because that is the main body which everybody tries to follow. So what is the thing now? See, there are two ways. Why, first of all, why do we need these international IFRS or international accounting standards? Why do we need? Because there is a disparity. If in India your financial statements are prepared on with some other guidelines, with some other method, and internationally it is prepared with some other method, then there will be some that disparity. To remove the disparity and to treat the international market as one market, so that anybody and anywhere flow funds can happen, they can invest anywhere, they can start the business anywhere, and there is no accounting disparity as such. So to remove the disparity, there is a requirement of IFRS, or there is a requirement of international accounting standards, right? So that there is a uniformity. Those universal standards, those universal guidelines help us in preparing the accounting statements as per those rules. So there are two ways. IFRS compliant hone ke liye, there are two rules. Either you adopt the IFRS as it is, okay? IFRS are prepared by the International Accounting Standard Board, or the other way is IFRS converge. Converge in the mean that you prepare your own standards, but those are according to the IFRS. Those are in line with IFRS. So India has adopted IFRS converge. Rather than adopting the IFRS, we are converging our own accounting standards with the IFRS. and the countries like Bangladesh, they have adopted, they are IFRS compliant, but they have adopted IFRS. So now let's understand, what do you mean by this IFRS? International Financial Reporting Standards is a set of accounting standards developed by an independent, not-profit organization called the International Accounting Standards Board, right? These were the set of rules, accounting standard rules, and these have been given by the International Accounting Standards Board. What is the use of IFRS in accounting? International Financial Reporting Standards set some common rules so that the financial statements can be consistent, transparent, and comparable around the world. They specify how companies must maintain and report their accounts, defining types of transactions and other events with financial impact. See, if financial reports or financial statements which are prepared in India are different, are prepared according to different rules, and then in UK, so is it possible for you to compare? And even if you think there is a parent company established in London and they have the branch company or their subsidiaries in India, how would they make a consolidated financial statement if they are following the different principles? Because the which it is showing profit here, that might be actually a expenditure there, or whatever they are showing there as a income, that might turn out as a loss here. So that's why there was a requirement. So we have a consistent and comparable financial system around the world. Then how did it get implemented? See, we are still on the stage, India is still on the stage of implementing this IFRS, or we are still converging with the IFRS. First, Ministry of Corporate Affairs on 16 February 2015, it notified, and that was termed as Companies Ind AS Rules 2015, right? And it notified 39 Indian accounting standards. 39 Indian accounting standard means these accounting standards were merged, were converged with the IFRS. And then further, 2 more were added. It was in 2015 this status. After that, 2 more were added in 2016. But after that, 1 more was depleted. So right now you can say that there are 40 accounting standards which have been converged to IFRS. But out of those 40 accounting standards, only 35 or so are prevailing right now, right? Then comes applicability to certain class of companies. When it was introduced in 2015, it was applicable on some class of companies. It wasn't applicable on all the companies because they were not sure how to force it and how to implement it. Then what is the date of applicability? It took place in 2 ways. First, voluntary adoption. Second, mandatory adoption. From 1st April 2015, voluntary adoption was open to all the companies, that whichever company is interested in adopting it, they could adopt. But there was a thing, see, suppose you adopted IFRS or Indian AS in 2015. After that, you cannot do that in 2015-16 you adopted Indian IAS, and in 16-17 again you want to go back. No, once you are adopted, you cannot opt out of this, right? You cannot go back. Once you are adopted, so it has to be maintained consistently in all the coming years. So suppose if you adopted it in year 2015-16, then we generally make a comparative statement. So how would you compare these statements with the statements of 14 and 15? So does it mean कि हमने जो 14-15 की statements हमने prepare की हुई थी, those again those should be prepared in line with IFRS? Yes. 14-15 if you are adopting it in 15-16, तो 14-15 की statements को भी आपको IFRS के accordingly prepare करना पड़ेगा, because then only it will be possible to make a comparison between the two accounting periods, right? And then mandatory adoption, it took place in two phases. Phase one, that was 1st April 2016, and second phase, 1st April 2017. So in phase one, see here it has been mentioned, in first mandatory applicable, in first phase, that is 1st April 2016, it was mandatory applicable for the companies whose net worth was above 500 crores or more. So it was mandatory for them to follow the Indian AS, and their holding and subsidiary joint ventures companies also of the same companies, those who are having the net worth of 500 and more. Then another one more applicability came, that came on 1st April 2017, in which those companies were included whose equity or debt securities are listed or in the process of being listed in any stock exchange in India and outside India, having net worth of less than 500 crore. So they were talking about in first phase only the companies having net worth of 500 crore more. But in second phase, they said any company which is listed, whether in India or outside India, and their net worth, even if it is less than 500 crore, then also they have to follow the Indian accounting standards. And the second group of companies included unlisted companies having net worth of 250 crores of Indian rupees or more, right? Then another was कि जो listed नहीं है, unlisted है, but if they have a net worth of more than 250 crores, then also they are compelled to follow the Indian accounting standards and the holding and subsidiary and joint ventures of the above companies, right? So it was applicable voluntary adoption on 1st April 2015, and mandatory adoption took place in two phases. In fact, in 2019 also, third certain group of companies were supposed to be added in this for mandatory adoption, but it has been delayed. So let's see now, more changes will be coming in this. Now, what are the benefits of IFRS? First of all, for the economy, if you see, as the market is expanding globally, internationally, the need for a global standard also increases. So implementation of IFRS will benefit the economy by increasing the growth of its international business. International business of any company will increase if there is a international standard adopted in that economy, right? Because in many earlier what was happening, many international investors, they were not interested in investing in India, stating that the accounting system which is being followed in India, that is too complicated for us, it is very difficult for us to understand. So if we want to invest money there, our company will be running there, but the accounting statements, the financial statement accounting method which is they are following, we are not able to interpret that, because according to us, what is coming as the profit here in Europe, that shows a loss there. So due to that, they were hesitant that we should not be investing in India, because they follow a different accounting method, and that is something not at par with our accounting method. So we cannot understand. So they were taking a step back. They were not interested in investing in India. Then comes investors. Investors from abroad who are willing to invest in India want information which is more relevant, timely, reliable, comparable across different jurisdictions, right? So they, same thing, they want some information which can be interpreted by them easily and which is relevant and which they can easily compare. So financial statements prepared using a common set of accounting standards help investors in better understanding the investment opportunities, as opposed to financial statements prepared using a different set of national accounting standards. That's why it was needed. If investors are willing, obviously it will bring more business in the economy and it will lead to the growth in the economy. And next comes the industry. A major push towards implementing IFRS has been coming from the industry, because if industry is going down, the whole industry, the whole sector is going down, because they are not able to raise the capital from foreign market. And the reason is same, because investors are not interested. If investors are not interested, they are not investing money. Industry is going down, economy is not growing. So these are all intertwined, all these 3 points, right? These are all interlinked. So if they would be, the reason being that industry would be able to raise capital from foreign markets at a lower cost if it can create confidence in the minds of foreign investors that its financial statements comply with globally accepted accounting standards, right? So moreover, with diversity in accounting standards from one country to another, enterprises which operate in different countries face a multitude of accounting requirements in different countries. The burden of financial reporting is lessened with convergence of accounting standards because it simplifies the process of preparing the individual also and group financial statement also. Thereby it reduces the cost of financial reporting. See, when आपका system converge हो जाता है तो it reduces your time and cost also, right? Because there is a set format you are preparing. Otherwise, what was happening? That some companies are preparing on different format and some companies are preparing on different format, right? So that's why there was a need. These are the benefits to the investor, to the economy, and to the industry. And this is the framework of IFRS under which Indian financial reporting is taking place. And it is called as Ind AS, and that is just in line with the IFRS. Slowly, we are converging towards it. So that's all for today. Put up your queries now, please.